As well. Can I ask you about what a debate that's going on in the International Criminal Court, though, the International Court of Justice in The Hague? They're seeing a case being brought the first day today by South Africa, of all countries. You probably have, I mean, just been in South Africa at Christmas, lovely country, but they maybe have their own problems they need to look at before they worry about anywhere else. But they are claiming that Israel is guilty of genocide in Gaza. Now, you've been out in the Middle East, you're currently in the West Bank, you've been into Gaza with the Israeli Defense Forces. You weren't able to roam freely as an independent reporter yourself. But do you think that those claims of genocide, do you think they have any foundation?
Well, first of all, absolutely not. I mean, as I've mentioned to you before, Julia, I mean, the population of the Gaza has grown by almost 1 million in the last 16 years. So it's a very strange type of genocide where the population actually increases. You mentioned, of course, this preposterous action by the South African government. If you go to South Africa, as I have been, you'll find that, I mean, South Africa is one of the most beautiful and amazing countries in the world, and it's one of the most hideously run. Major cities like Johannesburg have massive electricity blackouts. There's horrible corruption by the government. They can't provide the most basic things for the people. And, you know, terrible violence and much more, and horrible, horrible poverty in the townships. South Africa, however, its government is profoundly anti-Semitic, has been anti-Israel for years, and they always do this sort of thing to try to sort of distract attention among their own population from the failings of their own government. It's very telling, by the way, Julia, that one of the people who's joined this initiative of the South Africans to try to take Israel to The Hague for a non-existent war crime. One of the people who's joined that effort is Jeremy Corbyn, of course. And you mentioned, Julia, that I've been in Gaza quite a bit recently. I have, and it's true I've been in with the IDF. And I haven't been allowed to roam around freely. I've been allowed to roam around quite a bit. But one reason why you can't roam around very freely in the Gaza, certainly not if you're a Western journalist, is because of Hamas. Hamas, of course, has spent years killing and torturing any Palestinian journalist who doesn't support them. They're not very keen on most Western journalists unless they happen to be saying exactly what Hamas wants them to say. And even so, it's not a great situation. So, no, roaming freely in the Gaza isn't a great idea at the moment, not least because Hamas keep on popping up from tunnels and taking shots at everyone. Yeah. But the idea that the South Africans and others are trying to make these monstrous claims against the Israelis is really quite something. Israel is fighting a very, very tough battle in Gaza. Because, as I reported in the New York Post last week, every second house in the Gaza has munitions found in it. Every mosque that the IDF goes into has munitions in it. Every UN school that they go into has munitions in it and entrances to tunnels. And one soldier I spoke to on the record just last week, who does a lot of this house-to-house work and has been in there for months doing this, said to me, at this stage, when they go into a house and they try to find out where the entrance to the tunnel is in a house or where the munitions in the house are being stored, they go straight to the children's room because that's where the weapons are kept. He described how they turn over the children's beds and that's where you find the entrances to Hamas's terror tunnel networks. That's where you find the munitions. Just last week, he said he turned over the cot in one bedroom, a children's bedroom in the Gaza. He turned over the cot, and of course, there underneath it was a rocket-propelled grenade that Hamas had stored there. So it's an incredibly difficult battle that's going on. There's a massive civilian population who are caught up in it. But I think everyone has to realize, among other things, that this civilian population was handed the Gaza in 2005 by the Israelis, who took every single Jew out of Gaza. They forced them out of their homes. Hamas was Gaza rather, the Palestinians were effectively given a state in Gaza. There were no Jews, no Israelis. And what did they do with it from 2005 onwards? The population voted in Hamas, which then did a coup against Fatah, which killed their fellow Palestinians, and so they've had 18 years to run a state. And this is what we have, Julia. All the people who talk about the two-state solution and all this sort of thing should remember there was a state given to the Palestinians in 2005, and all that the world got, all that we taxpayers in the West got, was a terror state, which has spent the last 18 years committing terrorism against the state of Israel. As I've said to you before, Julia, we in Britain couldn't live with that situation as a neighbor. The Israelis can't. For the sake of the Palestinians and the Israelis, I think everyone should want to see the end of Hamas. But, you know, there are still people like Jeremy Corbyn who think that they're their friends. So,
everyone with the right thinking will agree on that final point, certainly. Douglas Murray, great to talk to you there live for us from the West Bank. Appreciate that. Still with me in the studio is Claire Pearsall. She's a former Foreign Office Special Advisor. Have you ever said, going back to the conversation about Douglas Murray and this King's College counter-terrorism course, have you been sent on anything like this?
Yes, just before New Year, I've been on the prevent training as part of my school governor safeguarding certificate. Very, very interesting. And I have to admit, I went into it with some preconceived ideas. I thought it was going to be telling me how to deplatform people and not accept other opinions, and it didn't.
So you had a different experience. That's good.
Absolutely different
That's a relief to hear.